Good morning and welcome to KidNuz, sponsored today by Bamboo Learning. I'm Tori. Today is Monday, July 13th, 2020. And we begin with an awesome reason to look skyward. One of the biggest and brightest comets of the century is making a months-long flyby. Neowise was only recently discovered by NASA, but it's already an A-lister among space rocks. It's 3 miles wide with a spectacular tail and is promising to entertain Earthlings for the next 2 weeks, with Space.com predicting the best viewing tomorrow through Sunday. To find Neowise, look just below the Big Dipper in the evening. It might be visible with the naked eye, but NASA recommends binoculars or a telescope to spot its long white plume. Try not to miss it. The event is quite literally a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Neowise won't be back for another 6,800 years, which is the length of time it takes to complete its path around the sun. It's not a record Florida wanted to set. On Saturday, it recorded 15,300 new coronavirus infections, the highest single-day total for any state since the pandemic began. But it's also important to note that Florida is testing more people per day than it ever has, and the percentage of those coming back positive is ticking down a bit, which is a glimmer of hope after a tough few weeks. Elsewhere in the state, Disney World reopened with a strict face mask rule and very few lines. In fact, one of the longest waits wasn't for a ride at all. It was reportedly for the Splash Mountain gift shop, where guests were seen snapping up Song of the South merchandise before the attraction gets its Princess and the Frog makeover. Here in the U.S., if the ride is open, ride it. Not so in Japan. The country has new rules for roller coasters in the age of COVID, and at the top of the list is no screaming, even with a mask on. The new MO is please scream within your heart to avoid expelling a burst of virus-carrying droplets along with that burst of enthusiasm. To convince guests that it's possible, the CEOs of the Fuji-Q Park west of Tokyo filmed themselves riding their coasters without making a peep. It's no easy task. The Dododampa ride holds the world record for fastest acceleration, hitting 112 miles an hour in 1.56 seconds. That's according to the park's website. While the Takabisha held the world record for steepest drop at 121 degrees before being beat by the Shellraiser coaster in New Jersey by half a degree. A new name for the Washington Redskins football team is said to be imminent. In fact, sources say the big reveal will likely come in the next 24 hours. As of this taping, the frontrunners are the Warriors, the Red Tails, and a new favorite, the Washington Red Wolves, which would be a nod not only to an endangered species, but also to a past support squad for the Navy SEALs. Depending on what's selected, the team may have to run through a man named Martin McCauley, who apparently saw the racial writing on the wall and has been buying up possibilities for the past 5 years. Among the names he owns, the Bravehearts, Federals, Forces, Founders, Gladiators, Natives, Pandas, Pigskins, Sharks, Veterans, and Tribe. In the past few weeks, he applied for the Red Tails, the Monuments, the Renegades, and the Americans. Some say it's much ado about nothing. Others are horrified. MerriamWebster, the dictionary that is pretty much the final word on words, just officially recognized irregardless as legitimate. Language purists aren't happy. They believe regardless or without regard is proper, while irregardless means without regard and is nonsensical. Still, irregardless has actually been in the dictionary since the 1930s as a non-standard entry, and the issue only resurfaced recently when Merriam-Webster included it in its Word of the Week blog. Twitter's been the site of choice for critics, but as Merriam often points out, it doesn't endorse or condone words, it just recognizes that they're used. And in a pointed clapback, the dictionary posted, it'll be sure to pass on complaints to the editors of the 1934 edition. That's it for KidNuz. Now our KidNuz quiz. What's the name of the comet making a celestial splash? Neowise, which is 3 miles wide and has an awesome tail. What's the rule for roller coaster riders in Japan? No out loud screaming, only screaming within your heart. What word is a word according to MerriamWebster? Irregardless. According to guests, where was one of the longest lines at Disney World this weekend? At a gift shop for Splash Mountain. In One for the Road, Walt Disney World reopens after an historic 118-day shutdown. Disneyland in California remains closed with no word on when guests will be allowed back inside. Even so, it's quietly celebrating its 65th birthday. It was this week in 1955 when the Anaheim Park first opened its doors. Its bigger sister in Orlando, Florida, didn't follow until 1971. For more on Walt Disney, the man behind the magic, just say, Alexa, open bamboo luminaries. Before we go, we've got some other KidNuz birthdays to recognize. Luna in Springfield, Virginia. Annette in Houston, Texas. Charlie in Eden Prairie, Minnesota. Henry in Cedar Falls, Iowa. Eustacia in Portland, Oregon. Awis in South Boston, Massachusetts. Noah in Chicago, Illinois. Colleen in St. Louis, Missouri. Kennedy in Marietta, Georgia. Liam in Del Mar, New York. And a California for Bennett in Solana Beach, Reese in Palmdale, and Avery in Eastvale. Thanks for listening. A reminder, you can find us on Alexa and all your favorite podcast platforms. And we'll see you back here for more KidNuz tomorrow morning.